Aloha and welcome to Daily Chess Analysis, episode 17. So this is the game that we had played earlier today. We see we have e4 c5, knight f3 d4. So it's going to be an open Sicilian. And we played Najdorf, which is great because I actually like playing in the Najdorf. And he played the Opočenský variation, or Opočenský, I'm not sure. Bishop e2, not being over dramatic. Not setting up the classical, English attack right away, not going for the Lipnitsky or trying to pin my, it's just saying, I'm in a castle. And actually this bishop is kind of keeping an eye on stuff, which is nice. Okay, it doesn't hinder my plan of e5, so I play e5. Okay, and his knight goes back, and I played bishop to e7. Now, this is a hole in my position that I always have to be careful of because he can, plop down there sometimes. But I decided to play bishop e7 over bishop e6, ignoring the hole for now and prioritizing castling. Okay, he brought his bishop out to e3, and now I play bishop e6. That's a pretty good bishop. It kind of reminds me of in the London system, you get a bishop in the pyramid like that. Okay, he played queen d3, which is a little bit surprising to me. I don't know why. I don't often see queen d3, I often see queen d2. But again, that's more in line with the English attack and going for a fast kingside expansion. I didn't know how to exploit this move, so I just castled. And he put his knight in the center. And normally you want to keep the two bishops. And, the bishops can do a lot of damage here. It's pretty good. But I didn't want to take and then have to drop my bishop back somewhere. But I also don't want to leave the knight here because it's kind of strong. So I took it with the bishop. Computer says that taking with the knight's a strong alternative as well. Sorry, we'll go over to the screen so you can actually see what the scores are. Everything's fine. It says knight d5 he could have castled instead. So you can see bishop d5 and knight d5 are pretty close. e d5, you gotta play that. And here I started to go a little bit wrong. So this pawn is what I'm going to attack because I'm already attacking it once. It's close to me, right? When his pawns are close to me, I should attack them. So my idea was to play knight here, push this pawn, and then put my knight here, and I have two attackers. And if he doesn't want to lose it, he either has to defend, which he can't defend with this because I've already played b5, or give up the bishop. So even though I give up a bishop, I'm also forcing him to give up a bishop. Computer had a different plan than mine. The computer, instead of bringing the knight like this, instead of bringing the knight like this to attack the pawn, it would instead have me play a5 and then play knight here to here, attacking the pawn. Alternatively, if he ends up stopping that, playing knight back to here to attack this. But either way, it didn't like this strat. One thing you can notice is that going here, I allow it to get traded off for his bishop. Where if I go, the other plan, here, he can't trade it off for a bishop. I wasn't used to playing a5 after playing a6 in the Najdorf. I used it to a6 and then b5 happening. But to be flexible is important. Okay. And it's not a big deal anyway. I continue with b5. I just continue with my plan. I thought about Rxc8. Yeah, I just had to go for b5. It's a structural thing. Kind of saying, you played f3, which was a weird move, by the way. So if you castle kingside, you're slightly weak, and if you castle queenside, then I'll have my pawns already here. Okay, he kept going with g4. So now if he's going to castle, I'm confident it's going to be queenside because kingside castling just doesn't make any sense. Okay, and I finished my plan of knight b6. Fantastic. He took, and I took back. So yay, he doesn't have the bishop pair anymore, and he continues to advance h4. Now with my pieces the way they are, and with so few pieces that can attack me right now, like his bishop can't support the queen, and the knight's really far away. So all he has right now is pawns. So I'm not actually really scared of these expansion moves here. What I would be scared of is maybe if he castled, and then brought his rook over, and then started pushing down. That would be a little scary because now the queen's factored in as well. He has 3 pieces on me. But until then, I just thought I developed the wrong rook. I thought maybe this rook could be useful in defense. Maybe if my knight moves and I play f6 or f5 at some point to try to cool his jets. But it says no. Basically, I can keep it here, and then I can mark these guys over this way. Okay, he continued with h5. Notice that all of his moves are over here on the queen side. My moves are on the king side. And rook c7, trying to double rooks and aim at that guy right there. Okay, he plays g5, which comes with tempo. Good for him. And my knight goes back here. Now my knight isn't attacking this pawn anymore, so there's a lot less pressure there. So my attack is temporarily slowed. But my knight can, it can come into e4 if I push that pawn, or e5, sorry. So I wasn't too sad about this. Also, there's an attack now on the pawn. He played queen to d2, defending the pawn. Makes a lot of sense. Rook f to c8. I didn't even consider a5. A5, it just gets taken, right? The idea is that if you take with the knight, I then take the pawn here. So it's pawn for pawn. And your queen's attacked, so if you move your queen back this way, then I'll take here. So we can just trade the a pawn for the g pawn, and maybe he wants the g pawn for his attack. So it makes sense. Bishop d3. This was doubled up against, so he defended it. And here's where I went wrong. I played knight c5. Again, the computer wants me to play a5. I continue to push my pawns. And either this knight gets uncomfortable by having to go back, or I can push here and just have a huge wedge on his position on the queen side. Either way, I just didn't consider it because I thought it just dropped a pawn, not understanding that this pawn here is also hanging. So balances out. Later in the game, I said maybe I should have played e4 at some point because it's just a pawn. In this point, e4 would have been a great move. The idea being I wanted to move my knight in here to harass this bishop. But knight c5, it trades too many pieces. And here I'm supposed to take with the pawn so I can keep pushing because that pawn actually ends up being kind of weak. I was afraid to let this pawn move, but there's no reason. It's just not a strong pawn. Sorry if these analysis videos are starting to seem kind of rambly. It's quite late. We have a5. He played c3, which is very confusing because b4 makes a lot more sense now. Now I'm also attacking a pawn. And here I had a decided advantage after takes. And he was pinning my rook to my queen, so I unpinned with tempo. And then he castled. So now there's no attack here happening ever, right? No attack happening ever. He had lots of options of what to play there. Rook b1 comes to mind. And here it was a big blunder. So I should have realized that his attack is all but stopped right now. And there's no reason to trade pieces right now. I have dominance over the c file. Right now my queen's on the b file. I'm attacking this pawn. This is solid. He's not doing anything to me. And his queen has to stay connected to this pawn. So since I have the upper hand, I should try to scoot this queen away with rook captures. But I got nervous and decided just to trade. Queen takes. And rook takes is a lot better. A lot better. The queen can't possibly stay connected to this pawn. And even if after we trade, so if I play this, rook f or queen f2 is the main move here in rook, the pawn hangs in the end. I'm just scooping up pawns. It's just a better position for me. Even though queens got traded. I got this pawn and I got that pawn. Very good for me. Instead I just traded. Queen takes, rook takes, and he was able to push now. And here's the second error that I made, and this is an error that I've made actually in a previous game on the channel. Instead of taking this pawn, which I was scared because I was like, open lines to my king. No. I pushed the pawn. But now my king's trapped. And this pawn can never move. So taking is a lot better. At least this guy can move, and at least it's not a pawn keeping me hostage. I can still do stuff, maybe. So h6 is bad. It went from maybe a +1 advantage to just equal. If not, he's better. Rook ab1 makes a lot of sense. a4 doesn't make a lot of sense. My bishop is ideally placed right here, I think. Because it can support this pawn here. My king will be kind of fine. I need to take that pawn, by the way. So I was carrying out the wrong plan. And then I started carrying out the right plan. And here I got nervous. I said, oh no, he's attacking and I don't want to defend passively. So I went here. Instead, I should have opted to trade to make my pawn big for this pawn here. Hard trade for me to make, though, because that pawn looks like it's kind of scary. And this pawn does look scary, too, but there's already a rook defending. And the queening doesn't come with check. So I just retreated, went back. He forced my pawn to a3. And here I was scared and knew that I was didn't seem very good for me. Bishop f6 doesn't make any sense. It just lets him check me. He didn't do it. I tried to trade rooks. We traded one pair. I didn't save the pawn. Saving the pawn makes a lot of sense. I was afraid of the check on the back rank for some reason. My play doesn't make a lot of sense in the endgame here. Yeah, I ended up being passive anyway instead of being active. Very confusing stuff. Hung a bishop, but he didn't see it. I was very low on time at this point. Like 30 seconds or something like that. So I was trying to stop the pawn. Here is actually, I can make it a draw by going here. And I can just shuffle around and he can't actually do anything, which is nice. King e2, king e7. Yeah, and in this position, after I bring my king in and he checks me, king f4 makes a lot of sense. Getting my king further in the position. And actually, I have a small pull here. I don't think I would win this. I think it takes a little bit of technique to win this, and I don't have that technique yet. But I at this point I flagged. So I know that was just mostly just a run through of the game. The main issues in my play, I'd say, were knight c5. Definitely a5 or e4 would make sense. I shouldn't be trading pieces here. That's for sure. Second error. I don't understand that one really. Definitely here taking with the queen gives away all of my advantage. My advantage comes in my dynamic play at this point, and how much havoc I can create on the queen side here. And by trading queens, the answer becomes nothing. I have nothing there. Later, this is all, I give myself a pass here because this is all in major time pressure. But that's just some endgame stuff that I have to drill in tactics, so it becomes kind of automatic what the right moves are. Overall, okay, well, it glitched right now, but overall, it was something like 70% that my opponent played, and I played something like 58%. It wasn't very inspiring. So this is the Opočenský variation of the Najdorf Sicilian, and just so we're clear on what that is this position here. This is the Opočenský variation of the Najdorf Sicilian. I'm Turkish Films. I hope you stay Turkish, and this video is over. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.